Hello, my name is Cindy Meyer, and I am the team lead for application processing for Illinois Shines. Today, I will be presenting an overview of the application review process. Throughout an application's lifetime, it will enter into different statuses. I will briefly touch on each potential status. The first status that an application can enter is in progress. An in-progress status indicates that the approved vendor is still working on the application and the application has not yet been submitted. Once the application has been submitted, it moves into submitted status. When a project moves into submitted status, the application is locked and approved vendors are no longer able to make edits. This is a reminder to always ensure that you review your application prior to submission. Once a Part 1 application is batched and the batch fee is paid, it will be placed into the application processing queue and processed in order of submission. After a complete review, including any additional technical review required, the application will either be placed into Need Info status or verified. If the application is placed into Need Info, additional information or clarification will be requested by email, with emails being sent out 2 times per week on Mondays and Wednesdays. If you see an application is in Need Info and you haven't received an email for it yet, it's probably because the email has not yet gone out. When the email is received, you should reply with clarification on missing information requested in order to cure the request and allow the application to become verified. Once verified, the project becomes eligible to be sent to the ICC for approval and moves into the contracting phase. Now for Part 2. The Part 2 application follows the same path as the Part 1 application. However, after verification, the application becomes eligible for invoicing and payment. There are also several statuses shown in the red boxes at the bottom of the first table. The first is withdrawn. An approved vendor may choose to withdraw their application prior to ICC approval, and the application moves into withdrawn status. Once an application is withdrawn, it cannot be unwithdrawn. If the project does end up moving forward at a later date, a new disclosure form and application will be required. Another status that an application may move into is not executed status. This status describes a situation in which an application is sent to the ICC and is approved, but the approved vendor chooses not to execute the contract within the designated window of time. The final out-of-process status is removed. This is similar to a withdrawal, but it happens after a project is already under a REC contract and therefore must be removed from the REC contract. On the right, there is an example of a typical application flow for Part 1 and Part 2 applications, where an application moves from in progress to submitted and then Need Info before becoming verified. And then depending on whether it's a Part 1 or Part 2 application, it either moves on to ICC approval or invoicing. So I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight a couple of common reasons for an application to go into Need Info status in order to help you prevent these and to help ensure application submissions go smoothly. For Part 1 applications, the most common reasons for Need Info requests result from inconsistencies or errors between the information on the disclosure form and the information that is entered on the Part 1 application. Some of the common inconsistencies include financing and ownership structure. For example, the disclosure form may identify the system as customer owned, but the owner on the application may be listed as the approved vendor. We also see a large number of address discrepancies. The address listed on the application should be the USPS address and match across all documentation, including the site map, proof of site control, and the disclosure form. Another common reason for need info is discrepancies between the interconnecting utility listed on the disclosure form and the interconnecting utility listed on the project application. It's important to verify this information prior to submission in order to avoid having to update the disclosure form and have a new form signed. For Part 2 applications, one of the common themes is meter photos that do not meet the meter reading requirements. In these cases, approved vendors are required to resubmit their photos with photos that meet those requirements. Another common reason is the number of arrays entered on the application does not match the number of arrays in the photos attached. We also see inconsistencies between the inverter make and model that was entered on the application and what was actually installed based on a review of the photos provided. And then finally, we see quite a few certified transcripts of payroll that require address corrections. So it's important to ensure that the address on the certified transcript of payroll is 100% accurate and matches the project application. Again, these are some common reasons of why applications might enter into need info status, but these are not exhaustive. Weekly application tips and tricks are published in the Friday program announcement and are updated weekly with trends and common issues as they come up. I also wanted to touch briefly on application review timelines. We work to review most applications within 10 business days of submission. These timelines do vary and are dependent on submission volumes as well as the quality of applications and amount of resulting need info requests for those applications. The best place to check for current review times is by checking the application processing dashboard, which you can access through the project application reports page on the program website. This dashboard is updated daily and has information on queue volumes and the submission dates that are currently being reviewed. Thank you for watching this training. And please contact the admin email with any additional questions. Thank you.